In this video, we're going to generate some random numbers using JavaScript. I'm Paul Wilson, and I make videos about Adobe Captivate, and I was taking a look at the analytics of my YouTube channel today and noticed that over 80% of you are not subscribed to my channel. And I have to say, I'm a little surprised by this because I would think that by this point it's very clear with 700 plus videos that I am the one guy making more Adobe Captivate content than anyone else on the internet. So I'm going to plead with you, ask you, reason with you. Please subscribe to my channel. Number one, if you set up notifications, you'll be notified each time a new Adobe Captivate video comes out. But also, you'd be doing me a huge favor, and it really helps to grow my YouTube channel. Anyway, today we're going to talk about JavaScript a little bit more. Last week I did a video where we were importing and exporting variables to JavaScript. Today we're going to do part of that, but while we're out in JavaScript land, we'll be generating some random numbers, which of course can be used for things like gamification, or if you wanted to add something random to one of your learning interactions, you can certainly do that as well. Let's get started. As I've said in other YouTube videos that I've created, I am not a JavaScript expert, but I certainly have had occasion over the years to need a JavaScript solution to certain problems. One of the things my viewers have asked for over the years is how can Captivate generate a random number? And that's what we're going to do today here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of how smart, if you want to say those words, ChatGPT is at writing code for us. So I'm going to type in a prompt that I think will give me good results. I've had limited success prompting for an entire JavaScript solution, but where I find that it works well is if I'm asking for simply one line of code at a time. So the first thing I'm going to ask for here is what would be the command to generate a random number between 1 and 10 in JavaScript and store it in a variable called underscore random number. So I'm going to go ahead and enter that and see what it comes back with. I like the way that ChatGPT formats the answer here. Obviously, there's the code, and I'm going to copy this code and paste it into Notepad on my other monitor there so that I have that for later when I'm going to develop it in Adobe Captivate. But what's nice is that you can go through these steps and actually learn something about JavaScript as well. So here we have an explanation of what's happening on the screen here. So let is the command to say let this variable, right? And I specified the variable I wanted to use in JavaScript here, underscore random number, space equals space, math.floor, which rounds it down to the nearest integer. So in this case here, we're generating a number between 0 and 9. And so it will, obviously between 1 and 10, it's going to round down to 0 and 9. And then, of course, within the parentheses here, math.random. This is the command to generate a random number. And when you generate a random number, it's between the value of 0 and 1 inclusive. And the math floor will take care of rounding it down, but we're multiplying it by 10 to get a number between 1 and 10, or in this case, 0 and 9. And that little plus 1 semicolon takes care of shifting it from 0 to 9 to 1 to 10. So really good explanation. So as you're building your JavaScript solution to be used in your e-learning course, you can learn a little bit about something here, and maybe that can affect future prompts, or maybe you will no longer need future prompts because eventually you'll become very good at using JavaScript and can write the code yourself. So again, I'm going to copy this code and I'm going to paste it into Notepad, which I have on my other monitor. And the other thing I need to do, of course, and this is why I like doing this one step at a time, is I want to find out, okay, I've got this variable now that contains a randomly generated number between 1 and 10 in the variable called underscore random number. I want to transfer that to Adobe Captivate. In fact, it even prompts me. That's how good ChatGPT is. It even prompts me if I would like to see that here. But let's type it in anyway. So what would be the command to import underscore random number into Adobe Captivate 12.6 in a variable called random number? So I'm using the underscore for all my JavaScript variables when I do this, and I leave the underscore off when I generate the Captivate variable. So let's go ahead and press enter for that. And there's my command there. So it's taking advantage of something called the Captivate API interface and a subcommand called set variable value. And we're going to store it in a Captivate variable called random number. And we're going to store the contents of the JavaScript variable underscore random number. So again, I can copy this code and I can paste that into my notepad there for use a little bit later. So now let's go into Captivate here. The very first thing you need to do is you need to declare that variable that you're going to use to store the random number in. So I'm going to click on the window dropdown and select variables. And we're going to click the plus create a variable icon in the upper right hand corner of the variables window. And we're going to type in random number. Now this will be a number. We don't need to give it an initial value other than the default of 0. And you could add a description if you're sharing this project with other Captivate developers and you want to provide them an explanation as to what this variable is used for. But otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and press create. And there's my random number variable where I'll store that random numbers. I can click outside of the variables window to close that window. And we're going to do this now. We're going to start off with a text block. And as I mentioned before, there's various reasons you would want to use a random number generator. This isn't really one of them. This is just for our purposes here to demonstrate how we're able to get a random number in Adobe Captivate. But you could use it, for example, for things like gamification of your e-learning course, or generate a random number for an activity, a learning solution that requires you to maybe roll a dice or something like that. Anyway, let's just do a simple paragraph block here. I'm going to change this to heading 6, and we'll do the same thing for this to heading 6. And the title will be random number generator. And because we now have our variable in there, I can type in $, and a list of user and system variables comes up, and I can select my user variable random number. So that's going to display whatever is stored in random number. So we need another thing, though, to actually generate that JavaScript code, and that's going to be a button here. And we'll just call this generate. The action for this button will be to run JavaScript, and we're going to click on more and scroll down until we find the run JavaScript command here. So run JavaScript. And we're simply going to paste those 2 lines of JavaScript into this window here. Press done, and we're pretty much good to go. Let's preview this and see how it works. All right, we'll go ahead and run this, and of course we'll press the generate button. So it's a random number between 1 and 10, and you can press this as many times as you wish to get a random number for each situation where you might need one.
If you thought this video was helpful, please like and share it with your colleagues. If you need help with Adobe Captivate, hire Paul for one-on-one instruction. Paul's goal is to focus on lessons based on your specific needs. Visit his website at captivateteacher.com. And don't forget to subscribe to his YouTube channel.